Episode 9 of Season 2 of The Bad Batch shows the group attempting to go on without Echo. And this really is the first time that they've been down an adult since when Crosshair left him, they only returned to their original total of 4 adults. But now they have to reface their character flaws while continuing to rely on their character strengths as well. And while the music wasn't the centerpiece of this episode, there were a lot of deep connections to make. This is Star Wars Music Analysis.
Do it.
The episode started off with music that wanted to give us a sense that we were in a mining town in the Wild West. Granted, the high canyon desert and sandstorm support this, but the music with frail sustaining strings and twangy steel string guitar also go a long way in leading our imaginations down this path by emulating the music of Western film composer Ennio Morricone. As the apparent poacher approaches, we hear a low bass clarinet underneath string drones that immediately gives us a sense of unease. And this actually reminded me of the music cue from A New Hope. So we end up getting an initially uneasy feeling for this character. Granted, the purple feathers definitely felt a bit disarming from the onset, and we seemed to be getting set up that this could be a new friend for Omega. I'm trying to figure out what this character's role will be in future weeks. I think that they will definitely become a part of the team, as they are almost adopted like an orphaned child. And I even wonder if this could be a young Boba Fett. Or do you think I'm reaching a little too far on that one? After the group's ship is stolen, the group begins moving through the canyon. The tranquil music of the Wild West desert returns as well. This time, it tends to mean more as they are left without their supplies and are having to essentially cross this dangerous desert on foot. The flute enters next, playing into the Morricone sound that we got a strong taste of from the Book of Boba Fett as well. I mentioned during my breakdown of Episode 6 that Kyner's music can become too cliché at times when we're placed in settings that resemble places on Earth. The same is true here in that the formula for what kind of music we're going to hear feels too on the nose at times. Now that we're in a desert with bandits and abandoned mines, we get the strolling music of old westerns. In a way, this harks back to Lucas's original conception that the music reflects something familiar. But by now, we've become very familiar with The Bad Batch and Star Wars as a whole, and Kyner could feel free to explore more original sounds for these environments. Because after 7 seasons of Clone Wars, 4 seasons of Rebels, and now 2 seasons of The Bad Batch, the impact of these tropes is wearing off, and it's become time for something new to be tried in the animated shows. I'd be very curious if any of you feel this way as well, though. But then the stampede begins. The strings in close proximity while playing tremolos create an eerie fear as the stampede arrives. War drums play as well in a syncopated rhythm, reflecting the booming thunder of the herd's hooves. The intense music continues as the storm comes in and all the way until they make it into the mine and are trapped. Also, has anyone else noticed that Hunter's heightened senses aren't that great? He basically only senses things about a second before everyone else does anyways.
What's that?
What is it, Hunter?
That sounds like a ship.
Silence fills the next scene, just like the silence of the deep, empty mine. Later, as Tech goes off after Omega, the music begins a short motif of the Bad Batch theme.
Very well.
However, then it moves into this notable leap up and then consecutive step down motion in the horn. This immediately had me thinking of this moment from Revenge of the Sith. This was probably in large part due to the fact that I talked a little bit about Order 66 in last week's episode as well, so it was fresh on my mind, but I can't think of a strategic reason to reference this little music cue here. Instead, it's likely just a relic from the temp track, but I'm curious as well if any of you caught this subtle cue.
It will be done, my lord.
As Omega reaches just a little too far to fill the last vial, low string drones enter, foreshadowing what's about to happen. And as she slips, the brass enter, heightening the sense of danger. The build-up after leads to a false climax just before Tech grabs her hand, except he doesn't. I loved this moment because our expectation is always that someone catches the person's hand right before they fall. It just happened, in fact, in episode 5. So here, when the music cuts off and Omega actually falls, I was actually left in temporary disbelief. I could actually feel her disappear into the darkness as the music disappears as well. This was really set up not only by the music, but also by previous episodes that set up our expectations. Tech immediately jumps after her as the dissonant drone in the brass and strings sustains our disbelief. And I have to assume that Tech knew there was water down there before jumping. Otherwise, he was thinking that it would be better to just jump to his death than return to Hunter and Wrecker without Omega. Chords full of dissonance over a consistent drum enter next, emulating the fear of the characters as they struggle against the current. The music shifts momentarily to being calmer until Hunter realizes something's wrong. Then, the music becomes faster paced as everyone feels an inherent intent on surviving, but as the water's current subsides, so does the music. As Omega and Tech talk, she finally gets through to a softer side of him, and as she does, the high strings begin a soft but tender drone. The music dismantles the tension then through the added soft strings, flute, and harp, and Wrecker's screaming helps too. I figured that this would be a stretch, but with Omega being in a cave full of glowing ore while she has inner struggles, I couldn't help but make a connection to Jedi as they search for their Kyber crystals in the caves of Ilum. And I was really hoping for some kind of magical moment where the caves suddenly began to glow brighter, the music became surreal, and Omega finds a single Kyber crystal. But instead, and as they leave the cavern, the cliché Western music returns, and again later as they see the approaching storm. We're left wondering what will happen next and how the team will in fact escape this, but also with a sense of hope. As they've indicated, they do always escape these situations, so we don't feel worried, just curious. There's been a trend of episodes that have the team breaking up this season, of going on missions to find treasures or other valuables, and of Omega struggling with her place in the group. We've been in dark caverns with valuable treasures 3 times, and each time there's been a theme of learning to let go, and when you reach too far, something bad occurs. I can't help but think that all of this is preparing for something bigger, but I can't imagine what that is yet. But I would love to know what you all think as well. How do you feel about the more cliché music cues that occur in this series? And how do you think the Bad Batch will get out of this predicament in the next episode? Will Echo have a place with them again? And do you think the Thief will become an eventual ally and perhaps even a new team member? The group certainly could use a rogue type skill set in a new team member. And who knows, what if this actually is Boba in the smallest galaxy ever? Tell me in the comments below and let me know if I've missed anything. Consider checking out my Patreon page using the link in the description, where you can help support this channel for as little as $1 a month, or download PDFs and MP3s of projects as I complete them, along with other perks at higher tiers. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to learn more about the music of a galaxy far, far away, and as always, may the be with you.